episode number 7 of the ABCs from God, the truth about being Christian. Today's episode is entitled The Rules of Man and the Rules of God. We have a great pre-New Year show for you today. Please support this channel by commenting, subscribing, and hitting the like button, and don't forget to share it with your family and friends. Thank you. In today's show, we will be mainly looking at discussing the rules of man, with a follow-up next week on the rules of God. Okay then, look, as I stated in episode number 5, entitled the CCP Coronavirus Wake-Up Call, when man comes up with rules and laws separate from God, he ultimately creates his own God or gods. Every other religion invented has come about by this lost-Prideful method. That is, these rules and moral behaviors he supports do not have a base to come from. Some will say they are from the law of nature. I say, yikes. Have you seen what a praying mantis female does to a praying mantis male after they mate? Or what about the laws of the jungle, the animal world rules? Our world's dictators, our euthanizing leaders around the world, are all for these rules. Man may say that his rules and morals come from common sense and life experience, but whose wisdom and experience does he mean? His good intentions? His elite group's good intentions? Hitler's good intentions? Mao's good intentions? You get my point. Bible quote. From the book of Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. This man or group of men are searching for a worldly utopia, a dreamland that many socialist communist dictatorships begin with. In last week's show, I brought up the example of the World Economic Forum. It is basically a group of rich, man-rule, godless people who are trying their own stint, like Satan has done, of creating a better world without God. Many of our liberal democratic leaders and many of the communist United Nations country leaders are in this group. This is where we Christians can see the great wisdom of our God and what he says about false gods in the Holy Bible. Bible quote. From the book of Timothy, 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. That is, with many griefs. What we see is that man rules tend to borrow from God's rule playbook. That is, including several of the 10 Commandments, but in their human-edited, altered form. Regrettably, some liberal and democratic political leaders in North America have now taken the Judeo-Christian God out of their party's platform, and they use man's rules to attempt to create their false paradise. So for these parties, the new moral standard comes from man alone. We see these moral standards of man alone in past and present socialist, communist, dictatorship leaders. It is distressing that we see an increasing number of groups arising, especially from our young people in colleges and universities who propose to be for a specific type of people and their rights, excluding all other peoples. Of course, this is not the first time that a leading socialist, communist dictatorship has influenced the people or young people of other nations. Relook at my 4th episode and the discussion on the 100% downfall of all Marxist socialist countries. For example, during the past 100 years, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, and Mao have set their man morals up to rule the Soviet Union, Germany, and China at the expense of hundreds of millions of lives. In the social rules of man, if you are not part of the team, you are exterminated. Welcome to the animal kingdom and the laws of nature. Please see Paul Kenger's book, The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration, in my description. The Marxist way for a young man or young woman who has never known or been involved in socialism or a communist war state and who is more concerned about gender choices and the weather than how to survive in a government-controlled state. These gullible young men and women need to ask more pertinent questions and reference proper historical evidence, Bible believers' evidence, that is separate from their professors' suggestions, before going out and marching in causes. Questions like, who is the enemy? Who were our fathers, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers' enemies? What is Remembrance Day in North America? If you are or were to become a citizen of this country, what vows did or do you make to uphold your citizenship, your new citizenship? Are you keeping those vows? I'm afraid that our current lemming marching youth and adults have not asked and answered the above questions, a large part due to the evil one's influence in our education system. Okay, listen up here. Here is a mouthful for you. If the professor-led youth and the media-hypnotized adults of our enemy-invaded society really questioned their peers, they would come to the realization that our country, our mainstream media, our high-tech companies, and our government has been infiltrated with an age-old enemy called the devil. Take off the horns and the pitchfork tail, and this devil can be seen all around us, and he can be disguised as an angel of light. Bible quote from the second book of Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Bible quote from the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verses 9 to 11. And he said to him, all these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. So we see here that Satan, the devil, has no influence over God. Yet this devil embraces godless rules, deceiving man, while building up the sanctity of the rules of man. Rules such as, if offered a money bribe, there will be no consequences if caught in the bribe. Money trumps God's laws. I will not go to prison or be executed for treason because I am right and Christian conservatives are wrong. When I die, there is no hell, no eternal punishment, no banishment from God, nor from heaven. And I can choose my own morals, separate from God, my higher power. I'm a good person. Are you really a good person in God's eyes? This last question leads us into next week's discussion on God's 10 Commandments, a fitting New Year topic. If you have just come to Jesus Christ or have been following him for a while, keep up or begin your daily habit of reading the Holy Bible and join with my friends and I in sharing God's truths, his ABCs, about being Christian. God bless and Happy New Year.